Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder and chief editor at Healthcare IT Today. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in health IT. And our guest today is Daniel Shirvani. He's founder of QUAS. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, John. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on. This is part of our ongoing series of interviews with AI Medical Scribe, Ambient clinical voice companies. So we're excited to add you to the group that's working on what I think is the most exciting technology in health IT. The impact it's having is incredible. It's exciting. But before we dive into your solution, tell us a little bit about yourself and Quest.
Totally, yeah. So I'm Daniel. I'm the founder of QUAS, and yeah, besides that, I'm a medical student. I'm super interested in health technology, always have been, and it's been very fun building this AI scribe, and yeah, a lot more things to come.
Awesome. So, what is the story behind Quest? I mean, you're a medical student. Shouldn't you be hitting the books, not
Oh
creating
yeah,
a
no.
medical scribe?
Totally. Yeah, maybe I could be reading the books a bit more, but yeah, no, I figured, I'm in medical school and I've always had a huge passion for software, for technology, etc. And, throughout my whole life, I've gone to the doctor. I noticed them typing like this. I noticed some of my preceptors in medical school typing like this. And, it really sucked to see, when you're shadowing, seeing a patient talk to a doctor and then having the doctor talking to the screen. And I essentially built my first prototype of QUAS before I even knew what AI scribing was, nor did I even know it existed. And so what happened was just a lot of doctors in the community started to just take up my product, and it's sort of gone from a small project to something that's scaled quite a bit since then. And yeah, that's a bit of the story.
That's awesome. So, how does your solution compare to so many other in the field? I'd list them all off, but now I just say go to healthcareittoday.com, click on Ambient Clinical Voice AI Medical Scribe in the right sidebar. But how does it compare to many of the other companies out there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a few things like our company itself, we're focused on a specific subset of doctors and clinicians where I feel, and a lot of our users feel who've, been on other products, is that a lot of companies will sort of give you a product, they won't communicate with you, they won't ask you what features you want, and the product essentially stays stagnant for forever. And so our whole philosophy was that, hey, what we'll do is because again, AI is so new and it's gaining a lot of traction these days, but it's very new. It's very new in healthcare. It's very new in, the physician's office. And so what we've built is sort of this pipeline where we know each one of our users very well. We know what their needs are, and we always have a pipeline of communication between us and the user. And so what really distinguishes us is that the way that we operate is that users essentially just send in features, and we have a list of maybe like I think we've had like over 100 or so feature requests since we've started. And our job essentially is to build the AI scribe that doctors want to use, not based off of our own preconceptions. And what we believe is that that will allow us to focus more on, less gimmicky tools and more on the things that doctors actually want to see. And so if you're a doctor who's or a clinician who's interested in being a part of something rather than just being the end user of something, or if you're a physician or clinician who's ever had difficulties with their, technology provider or their EMR provider, we're the people you go to because we're sort of the antithesis of what that is. And so, like I said, yeah, biggest thing is rate of change, rate of innovation, and just open communication and feedback.
That's awesome. It's good. I'm sure your users love that. It'll be interesting to see how that scales for you. Walk us through the workflow. What does it look like for a clinician? Are they doing it on a mobile device, the desktop? Is it, I assume, a standard hit record and then hit stop at the end? But tell us a little bit about the workflow for the clinician.
Yeah, totally. So there are a few ways that it can be done. And again, the way that we settle ourselves as a company is that we want to make sure that any clinical workflow can be supported by our platform. And so again, first the way you can use it is the most basic, where it's just, yeah, patient comes in, you get your verbal consent, then you hit start and you hit stop. But that's the most basic one. We do have mobile support where again you can just pick up your phone if you don't want to use a microphone or you're always walking in between rooms, you can have your phone sync to your computer and it'll essentially automatically populate into our software from your phone. That's workflow two. And then throughout the whole process, we also have like a notepad feature where essentially doctors can go, like let's say there are things that you don't want to say aloud or like thoughts you have about what diagnosis could be, like your differential, you can type it in our little scratch pad box and it'll automatically populate into your note after it's done. And so that's the first bit. Second bit is like what do you do after? And so with our tool, you can change out a template. So let's say you want to, like other platforms, you can build like patient education material and you can build referral letters. And with our platform, because we provide a lot of customizability to the doctor, you can again build your own templates, build your own types of documents. They can sort of generate all of those after and then exit the program and you're done. So that's what our workflow is. It tries to be very minimally invasive. And the way we've designed things is that you can sort of go in there with whatever your past workflow was. As long as there's a conversation, we're good to go.
Interesting. And how much of this is automated with technology? Do you have humans in the background? I think we're seeing a massive shift this way, but I'd love to
Mm,
hear, obviously there's the human in the room, the doctor, but
mm.
how are you approaching kind of automating it with technology and in using, human feedback as well?
Oh, totally. I mean, as far as the AI itself goes, I think, yeah, like you said, I think if you would have asked this question to any company 5 years ago, your rate of humans would have been a lot higher. But
Yeah.
yeah, no humans are involved in the process unless there's feedback that needs to be heard or any support that needs to be given by us. Yeah, we don't have a guy who's sitting in a room listening to all these. It's all just done by our AI, which is nice.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
only a couple left doing that. So it's interesting how
No.
that continues to evolve. How about EHR integration? How is this integrated with the EHR? Does it work with all of them or you focus on a few of them? How are you approaching EHR integration?
Totally, yeah, that's a golden question right there because I think a lot of different companies are taking a different approach. And so with us at the moment, we don't integrate directly into any EHR, and that's for a few reasons. First was that again, a lot of physicians we've noticed are pretty worried about having EHR integrations, specifically like, outpatient clinics who have like their own private EMRs that aren't Epic or anything. They get pretty scared when there's like a Google Chrome extension that can has access to their whole EMR. They're like, oh, what if this gets compromised? Or what if something goes wrong and it automatically deletes our whole system or something like that? Things that again have a low probability of happening, but they're things that are a barrier to user adoption. And so that's point one. And point two is that our platform, we're starting to build a lot more features into the platform itself that are going to translate it from an AI scribe to more of an AI Swiss Army knife for your patients and for your clinical practice. And so we've noticed that it's kind of difficult to have that all integrate in. It's something we're working on, but also it's something that our users haven't been demanding all too much. Just because they see the features we have, they see the accuracy of our tool, they see all of this, and they're more than happy to do a quick copy paste. And yeah, so it's on the timeline right now, but our users currently haven't been asking for that too much. It's more so how can we get more bang out of our buck for this AI tool? And the last little bit of convenience will be coming later. But that's our plan right now, and we're just listening to our users and seeing what they want. But yeah.
Yeah. It seems like everyone is starting with kind of the ambient clinical note generation and expanding a lot of different directions. Any areas you want to share now that directions you're looking at going next? Beyond just the note generation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a few things. One is that for example, you can imagine if you see a patient with back pain, there are a few things that you want to do, a few things you want to warn the patient about for like if you ever get like, difficulty, like if you ever get incontinence, for example, or you have, bowel issues. Like these are red flags for something that's more sinister. And so what we're working on right now is an alerting system. So let's say you see a patient, they come in with back pain, and it sort of fits that schema of like we don't know what's going on too much. Or, for example, if you never ask those red flag questions, our system, after the visit's done, will be able to give you like a warning, just like, hey, did you want to talk about this? Or is this something that's missing? So like that's point one. Point two is another thing where we're also trying to give suggestions for diagnoses as well. Where if a doctor opts in for it, as in after they're done their visit, after they've already given their own ideas as to what a differential could be, we're working on a few tools that are trained off of just standard medical guidelines that'll be able to produce those common differentials or things that you shouldn't be missing. But yeah, those are a couple of the things that we got the most demand for,
Interesting.
especially the red flag back pain one.
Yeah,
But yeah.
like clinical decision support makes sense, care guidelines. That's interesting. You
Mhm.
know, does the clinician have to change the way that they're working in the exam room to make your product work? Obviously, the obvious ones in the past interviews we've done, you have to voice it. They can't read your mind and they can't read your eyes either. So, if you're not saying it, it can't document it. But are there other things? And talk about the onboarding process for, people who want to use QUAS.
Totally, yeah. So I guess a couple things you asked there. So I guess first one as to how workflow changes, literally nothing has to change except for the fact that, yeah, like you said, can't read your eyes, can't read your mind. So if you see something, say it or type it into the little box we have on the side,
Yeah,
like as a
which is
scratch pad.
interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah. And like besides that, nothing in your workflow has to change at all, except for the fact that you won't have to sit down doing this the whole day after. Um, so that would be point one. And then point two, our onboarding process. We try to take a pretty intimate approach with that. And so for some users, we do just offer like a YouTube video that we have, and we say, hey, just go have fun, log in. But I could probably count on, two hands, however many times we've done that out of our hundreds of users. And that's because we like to have, one-on-one, 1 hour long meetings with our doctors to set them up where we go through like legal questions they might have or different issues like, oh, how does this button work? Or how do I change, do I have to change the way I talk to patients? Or how do I create this template? How do I modify my current template to do this, that? And so we spend a lot of time with our users on that front. And then we also have a second call with them where after they've tried out the product a little bit, we meet with them for another like 30 minutes or so to go over like, okay, what did you like? What could be changed? What else do you need from us? And like, how can we make the whole experience better for you? And that way, we're not just trying to have users sign up and forget that they even existed. They're sort of a part of our workflow and a part of our product development because they have a direct say in the product they're using. And so that's sort of what our onboarding looks like. And of course, they all get my personal email as well as the emails of the rest of our team just to ask any questions or that's just anytime. But yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm,
And talk to us about accuracy. How accurate is the solution? How do you even evaluate how accurate it is? I'd love to hear how you look at accuracy.
for sure. Thanks, John. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple things. So, you know, with any AI scribe or any AI system in general, trying to figure out your accuracy is pretty difficult because like you can imagine if you're a doctor, AI produces like some sort of hallucination or produces, some sort of misnomer or anything like that. You're probably not going to take the time to email your provider being like, hey, this thing was inaccurate or this word didn't work or, blah, 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 blah. Like doing all that just because it just takes too much time, right? And so we've sort of reconciled with that by again keeping in contact regularly with our users where we just call them, email them, ask them questions occasionally like, okay, you know how's the accuracy been, have there ever been any mistranscriptions, have you noticed any hallucination, et cetera, et cetera. And by doing that we found that as we continue to build the product we can tune our AI to be a little bit more sensitive to details or a little less sensitive or a little bit more verbose or a little less verbose. And so with time we've just been trying to figure out where that sweet spot is for doctors where it's like, you know, how detailed is the product or, how verbose is it, etc. And of course with accuracy as well. But again, long story short, we're quite accurate just because we know the things that don't work for the doctors, which drug names don't work, in what particular cases the AI would tend to hallucinate. We've already covered all those. And so again, unlike other products which might not really care about their users after they, start signing on and paying their monthly bill, we keep in contact so we can make the product better for our doctors and clinicians. Um, but yeah,
Interesting.
thanks for asking.
Yeah, you talked about specialties, a little bit before, but does your product work for every specialty? Are you focused just on a certain, subtype, or how are you approaching kind of different specialties and even different settings, acute care versus ambulatory? What's your approach in that regard?
Yeah, totally. And that's a great question because what we've noticed is, again, so we originally started almost exclusively with family doctors and GPs. And it's interesting because as more users started to come on, so we started having hospitalists come on. We started recently getting a lot of interest from internal medicine and internal medicine subspecialties. And then we started getting a bunch of allied health practitioners coming on as well. And so what ended up happening is like we get one user from this specialty, they would tell us what they'd want, and that would almost be a reflection of what their field is. And which has allowed our product to grow a lot. But yeah, no, we've got almost, I'd say we got most medical specialties on the platform in one way or another. But again, I think the people who tend to enjoy it the most, just mostly out of necessity, would be the IM internal medicine subspecialties, just because they have so much writing to do and just not having to do that is the best for them. But yeah, we have people all across the board, and our product supports every practice, every specialty, whether you're in multiple rooms, you're going by the bedside, everything works great. And so we're everywhere.
That's cool. So, I think whenever people see a new company and we highlight a new company, I think their first question is, where can they get a demo? So where can people go to learn more, to be able to get a demo and check out QUAS?
For sure. Yeah. So our website is quas.ca, quas.ca. Come shoot us a message. We have a little like book a demo sign, like book a demo button, sorry. And yeah, come chat. Also, our email should be somewhere on the website as well. So feel free to shoot me an email in case you have any problems, any issues, or you just want to ask us more about our product. My email's dan@quas.ca. And yeah, shoot me an email anytime.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy med student schedule and startup schedule. I don't know how you do both, let alone that you have time to talk with us. But I appreciate you sharing about all the work you're doing to, alleviate the burden doctors are feeling when it comes to documentation. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare IT content like this, be sure to check it out at healthcareittoday.com or search for Healthcare IT Today on your favorite podcast applications. Thanks, Daniel.
Awesome. Thanks, John. See you, everyone.